Ladies and gentlemen, why do some people achieve extraordinary transformations while others, equally capable, remain stuck in place? It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not even opportunity, it's intention, and what they choose to do with just 60 minutes a day. Imagine if 1 hour every day could shift the trajectory of your future. Not someday, not next year, but starting now. What would you invest it in? Who would you become today? I'm not here to sell you a miracle. I'm here to invite you to make a decision to claim control over the one thing more valuable than money, more powerful than motivation, your time. Because when you use just 60 minutes with purpose, with discipline, and with vision, your future doesn't just improve, it transforms. Let's explore how. When it comes to personal transformation, most people begin by asking what they want to achieve. They say things like, I want to lose weight, I want to make more money, or I want to be more confident. These are valid aspirations, but they are focused solely on outcomes. The problem with starting from the what is that it rarely sustains momentum. Without a clear reason behind your efforts, discipline fades, distractions take over, and eventually you quit. True transformation begins not with what you do, or even how you do it. It begins with why. Your why is the emotional fuel behind your actions. It's the deeper reason you wake up early, put in the effort, and keep going when it gets tough. It's not just about setting goals, it's about anchoring those goals to something meaningful, personal, and deeply resonant. This is the foundation Simon Sinek built his philosophy upon. People are more inspired by purpose than by process. When your actions are driven by a strong why, the 60 minutes you invest every day become powerful and focused. They are no longer tasks to check off. They become steps toward becoming who you were meant to be. Consider this. Two people set the same goal of reading for 60 minutes every morning. One does it because they think they should. The other does it because they believe learning will help them become a better leader, which will help them serve their community more effectively, and ultimately allow them to live a life of impact. Who do you think will keep going when it's inconvenient, when they're tired, when the results aren't immediate? Purpose creates persistence. Your why must be specific. It has to be yours, not borrowed from society, not imposed by others. A vague motivation like to be successful doesn't provide direction. But if your why is, I want to become financially independent so I can give my children the freedom I never had. Now there's emotion behind the effort. There's clarity, and with clarity comes energy. To define your why, ask yourself, what do I care about? What frustrates me about where I am? Who do I want to become? And why does that matter to me? Don't be afraid to dig deep. Sometimes your why is buried under layers of fear, doubt, or old beliefs. But when you uncover it, you'll feel it. It won't just sound good. It will feel true. Once your why is clear, everything else becomes easier to organize. Your time, your routines, your boundaries, they begin to align with your purpose. That 1 hour a day starts to take on meaning. It becomes the hour where you're not just doing, you're becoming. And when you frame it like that, you'll find yourself making fewer excuses, saying no to what doesn't serve you, and saying yes to what moves you forward. But don't stop at just identifying your why. Remind yourself of it daily. Write it down, put it on your mirror, speak it out loud when you feel resistance. Your why is not a one-time discovery, it's a daily declaration. In those moments where doubt creeps in, and it will, it's your why that will pull you back on track. It's your internal compass, keeping you focused and grounded. Think of your why as the story you tell yourself about your life. When that story is powerful, everything changes. You stop seeing the 60 minutes as an obligation and start seeing it as an opportunity. You stop chasing results and start embodying purpose. And most importantly, you stop waiting for life to happen and start creating it, one intentional hour at a time. So before you worry about time management, productivity hacks, or morning routines, take a step back. Ask yourself, Why am I doing this? Why does this hour matter? Because when your why is strong enough, your how will reveal itself, and your what will follow with clarity and conviction. Start there. Start with why. That's where transformation truly begins. We often wait for motivation to strike before we act. We say things like, "I'll start when I feel ready," or "I just need to get motivated." But motivation is a feeling, and like all feelings, it's temporary. It rises and falls with your mood, your environment, and even the weather. Relying on motivation to transform your life is like building a house on sand. It may look solid for a moment, but it won't last. If you want real change, if you want to build a future that looks different from your past, you need something far stronger and more stable than motivation. You need discipline. Discipline is showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's doing the thing day after day because you've made a commitment. Not because it feels good in the moment, but because it aligns with who you want to become. Discipline doesn't wait for the perfect mood or ideal circumstances. It simply acts, and this is where transformation happens. Not in those rare bursts of inspiration, but in the quiet, consistent decisions made daily. Think of someone training for a marathon. There are days when they're energized, excited, and driven to run. But there are also days when they're sore, tired, or mentally drained. The runners who cross the finish line aren't the ones who trained only when they felt like it. They're the ones who showed up regardless. They prioritized discipline over feelings. That's how endurance is built, both in running and in life. This is exactly why the idea of just 60 minutes a day is so powerful. It's not overwhelming. It doesn't require a complete lifestyle overhaul overnight. But it does require consistency. If you're committed to using 1 hour daily to invest in your growth, whether it's learning a new skill, improving your health, building a side project, or deepening your relationships, you're essentially building a habit of discipline. You're training yourself to act with intention, even when motivation isn't there to cheer you on. Let's be honest, there will be days when excuses sound more convincing than your goals. Days when your bed feels warmer than your ambition. That's normal. What separates those who transform their future from those who repeat their past is the choice to honor their discipline over their feelings. Discipline says, "I made a promise to myself, and I keep my promises." That kind of integrity changes you from the inside out. And here's the surprising part. Discipline gets easier over time. At first, it feels like resistance. It feels like forcing yourself. But the more you show up, the more it becomes part of who you are. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop overthinking. You simply do. What once required effort becomes automatic. You build trust in yourself. You start to believe, "If I say I'll do it, I will." That belief spills into every area of your life, your work, your relationships, your goals. People sometimes confuse discipline with rigidity or punishment, but that's a misunderstanding. Discipline isn't about being hard on yourself, it's about being committed to your vision. It's about knowing that your future self is worth the effort. And strangely enough, the more disciplined you are, the more freedom you create. You free yourself from regret. You free yourself from the guilt of inaction. You free yourself from being controlled by mood, circumstances, and distractions. Think about it, 1 disciplined hour a day adds up. That's 7 hours a week, over 30 hours a month, more than 365 hours a year. That's over 9 full work weeks, dedicated purely to your growth. And yet, it all starts with choosing discipline over motivation for just 1 hour today. That's it, 1 hour of focused action. Regardless of how you feel, that's the kind of investment that compounds. That's how small steps become big change. So the next time motivation fails to show up, and it will, remember this, you don't need to feel ready. You just need to begin. Your future doesn't depend on fleeting bursts of excitement. It depends on whether you're willing to show up when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's uncomfortable. That's discipline. That's power, and that, more than anything else, is what will transform your life. Because in the end, the future doesn't belong to the most inspired, it belongs to the most consistent. Time is the one resource we all share equally. No matter who you are or where you're from, you get the same 24 hours in a day. The difference lies in how you use them, and more importantly, which parts of your day you protect with intention. If you want to change your life, one of the most powerful decisions you can make is to reserve just 60 minutes a day entirely for your growth. But it's not enough to set aside the time. You have to protect it like it's sacred. Think about how we treat important meetings. When your boss schedules a meeting at 10 a.m., you don't cancel it because you feel tired. When you have a doctor's appointment, you plan your day around it. You show up on time, you're prepared. You don't take phone calls or scroll social media during it. Why? Because it's important, because you made a commitment. Now imagine if you gave that same level of respect to your 60-minute growth window every day. Imagine if you treated it as non-negotiable, a standing appointment with your future. That's what it means to protect the hour. It's not just about finding time, it's about honoring it. We live in a world full of distractions. Notifications, emails, conversations, entertainment, they're all competing for your attention. If you don't actively guard your time, the world will consume it for you. 1 minute of scrolling turns into 10. A quick reply to a message becomes a full conversation. Suddenly, the hour you set aside is gone, and you've given it away to things that don't move you forward. Protecting the hour starts with a decision to value your future more than temporary comfort or convenience. That decision shows up in how you plan your day. You schedule the hour, you put it in your calendar, you communicate it to others, you create boundaries around it. This is not selfish, it's strategic. When you're serious about growth, people start to take your time seriously too. Creating the right environment is also part of protecting the hour. You don't study in a noisy room. You don't meditate in the middle of a chaotic kitchen. Set the stage for focus. That could mean turning off your phone, shutting down unnecessary tabs, or finding a quiet corner where you won't be interrupted. Your environment should signal, this time is different. This is where I grow. It's also important to know what you're doing with your hour before it begins. Don't waste time figuring it out on the spot. Go in with a plan, whether it's reading, writing, learning, building, exercising, or reflecting. Know exactly what this hour is for. That clarity keeps you from drifting. It keeps you engaged and intentional. You may face resistance from others at first. People might question why you're unavailable. They may not understand why this hour matters so much to you. That's okay. They don't have to. What matters is that you understand. You know the value of this hour. You know what it's building toward, and over time, they will see the results, and they will understand too. Some days will be easier than others. There will be times when life feels overwhelming and the hour feels like a luxury you can't afford. But that's exactly when you need it the most. The hour is not just about making progress, it's about preserving your identity. It's your daily reminder that you are not just reacting to life, you are actively creating it. There's also something deeply empowering about protecting time for yourself. It sends a message to your mind, I matter. My growth matters, my goals matter. That self-respect begins to reflect in other areas of your life. You become more confident, more focused, and more aware of what truly deserves your time and attention. Over time, this protected hour becomes a pillar in your life, a source of clarity, progress, and strength. It's where transformation compounds. It's where new habits form. It's where goals evolve into reality. But none of that happens if you treat the hour casually or inconsistently. So treat it like a sacred appointment, because it is. It's your meeting with the future you. And every day that you show up, you're telling that future, I'm coming for you. I'm building you 1 hour at a time. When we set out to transform our lives, we often begin with goals: lose 10 kilograms, earn a promotion, save a certain amount of money, finish writing a book. These goals give us direction, and they can be powerful motivators, but they are also just milestones, not the journey itself. If you focus only on reaching the goal, you risk missing the most valuable part of the process, who you become along the way. Goals are outcomes. Growth is the ongoing process of becoming. Goals are fixed in time. Growth is continuous. And when your transformation is built on the foundation of daily growth, not just distant goals, you're much more likely to stay committed, even when progress feels slow or the end result seems far away. The problem with goals is that they often carry a finish line mentality. You tell yourself, I'll be happy when I reach that weight, or I'll feel successful when I hit that number. But what happens when you do? What happens when you check the box? More often than not, the feeling is temporary. You celebrate for a moment, then feel the familiar emptiness creeping in. That's because you didn't fall in love with the process. You were chasing an endpoint. When the endpoint came, so did the question. Now what? Growth, on the other hand, is never-ending. It's about improvement for its own sake. It's about showing up every day, not because you're chasing something external, but because you're committed to becoming a better version of yourself. When you shift your mindset from what can I achieve to how can I grow, everything changes, the pressure lessens, the joy increases, the resistance weakens, and transformation becomes sustainable. Using 60 minutes a day to grow means investing in things that build your skills, your mindset, and your resilience, not just chasing a result. Reading a chapter of a book that challenges your thinking, practicing a skill that improves your craft, writing down your thoughts to become more self-aware. These actions may not deliver instant rewards, but they compound over time. They shape who you are, they strengthen your character, and eventually they lead to the very goals you once obsessed over, but without the burnout or frustration that comes from focusing only on the outcome. Growth is also what keeps you moving forward when you hit setbacks. And you will hit setbacks. That's part of any meaningful journey. If your identity is tied solely to achieving goals, failure can feel like a personal crisis. But if your identity is rooted in growth, failure becomes data. It becomes feedback. It becomes part of the learning process. You don't stop. You adapt, because the goal was never perfection. The goal was progress, and here's the powerful truth. When you focus on growth, the goals start taking care of themselves. You lose the weight because you've become someone who values movement and nourishment. You earn the promotion because you've become someone who consistently sharpens their skills. You write the book because you've become someone who writes every day, not just someone who wants to be an author. The goal becomes a byproduct of the person you are becoming. This shift also brings more fulfillment. Growth is deeply satisfying because it aligns with our human nature. We are built to evolve. Stagnation feels uncomfortable because it goes against our design. When you spend an hour a day growing, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, or physically, you feel alive, you feel in motion, you feel connected to something bigger than just achievement, you feel connected to your potential. And the beautiful thing is, growth looks different for everyone. There's no single path, no right or wrong. Your 60 minutes could be spent meditating, journaling, learning a new language, working on your business, or simply reflecting in silence. As long as you are expanding your capacity, your understanding, or your discipline, you are growing. So yes, set goals, have a vision, know where you're headed, but don't let those goals blind you to the deeper purpose of your effort. The goal is not just to achieve something. The goal is to become someone more capable, more focused, more resilient, and more alive. Let your daily hour be a space for that kind of growth. Protect it, honor it, and use it well. Not because you're chasing a goal, but because you believe in your ability to grow. And when growth becomes the goal, the future begins to take care of itself. 1 hour at a time. One of the biggest reasons people give up on their transformation journey is that they feel like they're not making progress. The results they hoped for don't show up fast enough, and they begin to doubt whether their effort is worth it. But often the problem isn't that progress isn't happening, it's that they're not seeing it. That's why tracking your progress is essential. It allows you to recognize the small wins, and those small wins are what build unstoppable momentum. Transformation doesn't happen in giant leaps. It happens in tiny steps repeated daily. You don't notice your muscles growing after one workout. You don't become fluent in a language after one lesson. And you don't become a new version of yourself in a single moment of inspiration. But every day you show up, something shifts. Even if you can't see it right away, the act of tracking your progress is what helps you stay connected to those shifts. It makes the invisible visible. When you begin to dedicate 60 minutes a day to your growth, you're making a quiet but powerful commitment to change. But commitment needs feedback. Without feedback, your mind starts to doubt. Am I doing this right? Is it working? Should I keep going? Tracking your effort and your results provides that feedback. It's your way of reminding yourself, yes, I'm moving forward. Tracking doesn't have to be complicated. It could be as simple as writing a sentence at the end of each session. What did I do today? What did I learn? How do I feel? Over time, those notes form a timeline of growth. When doubt creeps in, and it will, you can look back and see the evidence. You'll see that 2 weeks ago, you struggled with something that now feels easy. You'll notice how your thinking has evolved. You'll realize that you're not standing still at all. You're changing. And those small wins you capture along the way, they matter more than you think. They're not just motivational. They're transformational. A small win is anything that confirms you're moving in the right direction. Reading a chapter, finishing a workout, choosing focus over distraction, completing a tough task. Each of these acts builds self-trust. Each one proves to your subconscious mind that you're capable of growth. And once your mind starts to believe that, you gain momentum. Momentum is a force multiplier. When you feel it, you stop needing to push so hard. You don't rely on willpower alone. The wins start to stack. You feel proud of your effort, even if the big results haven't arrived yet. And here's the key: the more you track, the more wins you recognize. What you measure, you multiply. If you measure your growth, you're more likely to grow. If you measure your progress, you're more likely to progress. This also shifts your focus away from perfection. You stop needing every day to be amazing. You understand that consistency is what matters most. Even on a day when you only made 1% progress, it still counts. Because that 1% builds, and the act of recording that 1% reinforces your identity. I'm someone who keeps showing up. I'm someone who follows through. Tracking also brings clarity. It helps you see patterns. Maybe you notice that you're more focused in the morning, or that you make the most progress when you prepare the night before. Maybe you realize that certain distractions keep showing up. These insights allow you to adjust, refine, and improve your process. That's how you turn your daily hour into a precision tool for growth. Not just a block of time, but a deliberate engine of transformation. Celebrate your small wins. Don't wait for the final outcome to feel proud. Feel proud today. You showed up, you grew, you honored your time. That matters. Most people don't. Most people talk about changing. You're actually doing it, and tracking your progress is how you honor that effort. It's how you acknowledge your own evolution. So don't underestimate the power of writing down your steps, your struggles, and your victories. It may seem small, but it's not. It's how you keep your fire burning. It's how you build momentum. And momentum is what makes the impossible possible. 1 win at a time, 1 hour at a time. Keep track. Keep moving. You're not just creating change. You're becoming it. Transformation isn't just about changing what you do. It's about changing who you believe you are, because in the end, it's your identity that drives your behavior. You don't rise to the level of your goals. you fall to the level of your self-image. If you see yourself as someone who always gives up, who's inconsistent, who's just not that type of person, then no strategy, no routine, no motivational speech will be enough to create lasting change. But if you use just 1 hour a day to reshape not just your habits but your identity, you can completely redefine what's possible for you. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you believe you are. When you commit 60 minutes each day to your growth, consistently, deliberately, you're not just making progress, you're casting votes for a new version of yourself. Every day you show up to read, to train, to build, to reflect, to stretch your limits, you are reinforcing the belief, I am someone who grows, I am someone who honors their time, I am someone who follows through. This is how transformation begins, quietly, in the repetition of small, intentional actions that shift your identity from the inside out. At first, the identity may feel unfamiliar. You may still carry the voice of the old you, the one who procrastinates, the one who doubts, the one who breaks promises to themselves. But over time, as your actions compound, so does your self-image. What once felt like an act becomes who you are. You no longer just try to be disciplined. You are disciplined. You no longer hope to be consistent. You are consistent, and that identity shift changes everything. Because once you believe in this new identity, your behaviors start aligning automatically. You don't need to push yourself so hard to stay committed. You don't need to rely on external motivation. You simply act in alignment with who you believe yourself to be. That's why the most powerful part of your daily hour isn't what you accomplish. It's how it rewires your sense of self. And this isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about revealing the person you've always had the potential to become. That potential has been waiting for consistent action to bring it to life. When you treat your hour as sacred, not just another task on your to-do list, but as a personal ritual, you give that new identity space to emerge. The world often tries to define you based on your past, your mistakes, your failures, your limitations, but the hour you claim each day is your quiet rebellion against that definition. It's you saying, I'm not my past. I'm not my excuses. I'm not my circumstances. I am the choices I make consistently, and today I choose to become more. This identity-driven approach to transformation also builds resilience, because when challenges come, and they will, you don't just rely on willpower to get through them. You lean on your identity. You say, this is hard, but I'm the kind of person who shows up anyway. That belief gives you strength. It gives you grounding. It turns temporary discomfort into lasting pride. And here's the beautiful part. As your identity evolves, it begins to ripple outward. You start showing up differently in other areas of your life. Your relationships shift. Your energy shifts. Your standards rise. You begin to carry yourself with more clarity, more confidence, and more calm, not because everything around you has changed, but because you have. That 1 hour a day becomes a mirror. It reflects who you are and who you're becoming. It becomes the foundation on which you build your future, and the more you protect that time, the more deeply it embeds into your story. Soon others will notice the change. They'll ask what's different. But it won't be something they can immediately see. It will be something they feel, a quiet power, a growing certainty, a depth of purpose. That's what happens when you let the hour redefine you. You stop chasing transformation from the outside in. You start living it from the inside out, and eventually you stop trying to change your life, because you are the change. So give yourself that hour, not just as a gift of time, but as an invitation to step into your next self. Let it shape you, let it stretch you, let it remind you that identity isn't something you inherit. It's something you create, 1 hour at a time, one choice at a time, one step closer to the person you were always meant to be.